The bolts are basically mashed. The inserts basically mashed. Nylock nuts mashed. But I think we've only just closely averted disaster with it. My next job is to do the flails, but I'm going to take the flail off because I want to be able to flip it over, grease the bearings and just check that everything's okay after a few goes in the field and up the wildflower meadow. I've no idea what sort of care it's had over the years, and ideally I'd like to be able to change the bearings. I don't know about you, but maintenance is not one of my specialities. You can take this roller out. That hasn't got bearings in, that's just got like these plastic bushes inside. And then the other thing is the flails. So some of them have not been turned. So this is the wear inside. These have never been turned. That one and that one, oh, you can see that. That one down there. That is so worn and so sort of rounded over now. They're really not cutting anything, they're just smashing the way through everything. Take them all off, check every flail, decide which one's the worst, and then put 12 new flails on. To get some of these bolts out because the grass has basically seized the bolts in. And I thought, well, I'll see how bad it would be to get the shaft out. So that's this whole shaft assembly. So you've got a bearing at the bottom, bearing at the top. The bearing at the top, well, I call it the top, but this is what it is. The bearing at the side has this pulley system, which is from the gearbox. The belts have perished, so there you can see cracks in the belt, and they're all unbelievably floppy. But I've just come to that, and the nut and the washer and everything was all loose. So, in hindsight, it was probably a good thing that I'm taking this off, and this is actually loose as well now. So I'm going to get this off, get the pulleys off, put some new belts on, and then I'm going to try and get the shaft out and do a proper total refurb of the flail. New bearings, new belts, new flails out, which was fairly straightforward. Undo all the bolts around the bearings and then basically pull it out. This is the end with the dry shaft on. Look, there's a bit of play in the bearings, but it's not too bad. But I did have a job with the grease nipples, trying to get them to accept grease. Now, in my idea, it was just a case of putting new grease nipples in, but now with this far in, there's little point in putting default bearings back on. So we'll get some sizes, order some new bearings, and it means now I can get this home, put it in the vise, possibly get some heat on these and get them out. This bearing's gone rusty, and when I come to move it, it's sort of, I don't know what's going on, but I think we've only just closely averted disaster with it. This is what I thought was grease, but it's not. This is oh dear, this is a collapsed bearing, I think. Something's gone wrong here, because this here shield has all come off. You would think with new bearings this thing should fly along. Poor little engine was struggling to actually drive the flail. I've got to try and work out now how you get a size off these things. FYJ 506. I've slugged and slugged at it and can't seem to get the bearing out. Anyway, I've just searched for how to get the bearing out of a flanged housing, and you have to get it so it spins, because the bearing's got like a convex kind of curve to the top of the bearing. So you have to spin the bearing so it goes at 90 and then get it out of these slots here. Now these are pretty well seized, but I'm going to have a good go at that. Yes, that's epic. Now if you already knew that, that is genius. I love genius things like that. I can take them home, clean those up, find some new, and I can get some new bearings tomorrow. I've given them a good old clean up. Can't find any numbers or codings on them, but I found out that that bearing outer diameter is 62mm. That's a fairly standard SKF. That fits the housing that I've got. And then the internal diameter, I've just done the calipers. These are imperial calipers, but I've just done the old imperial measurement, done an old Google conversion, and that works out at 30mm, which is a fairly standard insert bearing. So that is great because I can get an insert bearing for about £24 each. Progress so far. Thank goodness for impact guns. DTW 300. What an awesome bit of kit that is. I've been here till the middle of next week trying to get them off. Got to sort out which ones are going to be the best. 12 new ones. The bolts are basically mashed. The inserts basically mashed. Nylock nuts mashed. Steel bar come this morning, which is to replace all of these. So I've just got to cut them to length like these, because these are very, very badly worn. You can see that compared to that, which is just 2mm wall tubing. The other job I've got to do is, because this one is so tight up against here, don't think there's going to be an awful lot of room between this and the next one. So what they've done on this one is they cut the end off. So I might have to get the grinder and cut the end of that one off. So I've got our new bearings on. I've put the new grease nipples in as well. Yes, we're in. Easier than I thought, because it took me forever to get the thing out. Lining up the grease points so that the grease points are easy to get to when you're doing your maintenance. And I've got a sneaky feeling this is the first time the bearings have ever been replaced. So the rotor's all in. I've gone for grease nipples at the bottom. We're all up here. Got the pulley back on. Keyway in. I'm going to put some thread lock in that and keep a very close eye on it. And then I've got some brand new belts. The other ones were notched belts, which were rather nasty cracking going on, and I thought, well, that's only one step away from being ripped apart. They were 907s, which apparently, I didn't realise this, is generally the length of the outside diameter. So it's 907mm. But he hadn't got any 907s, so he got me a 900. We'll get them fitted next. Do you know how much you're supposed to use? Oh, that's tight, that is. We'll stop in that. Right, catch the tractor. See what happens. Moment of truth, really. Take it all off again and take all the end piece off again. But what it was is this sort of guard flange thing here. This thing has two bolts in it, and when you tighten them up tight, it clamped against the bearing and was sort of scrawping against the bearing, I think. Anyway, I've put a shim in there. I've managed to get away without a shim in the bottom one. And then at this end, I've put, you can't really see, but I've put a shim in both bolts. So I haven't had to take the whole thing apart again, which was pretty fortunate. So now it spins. There's a little bit of friction on one, which I think is just where this rotor's catching on. You can just hear it catching, I think, just on that edge just there. You can't really see it in this sunlight, but anyway, I'm happy with that. I'm on a bit of a sprint because I've got the dentist shortly. Take two. That works really well actually. So new flails, new bearings, new pulleys, new belts, and working a treat, glides through it. So we can safely say we're all sorted, ready for next season on the flail mowing front. We will be back with more woodland goodness. I will see you on the next one. If you're able to, enjoy your woodland space and your outdoor spaces, and together we will get ready for the winter cut. See you on the next one.